Welcome back, my fearless viewers. Tonight we delve into the mystery of a house that appears out of nowhere, unseen one moment and ominously present the next. But this is no ordinary house. Those who step inside rarely return, and those who do are never the same. This is the story of the house that shouldn't exist, a place where reality warps and nightmares become real. Claire was never one to believe in the supernatural. A rational woman, she had always relied on logic and reason. But that would change on a cold autumn evening when she found herself lost on an unfamiliar road, the GPS on her phone flickering uselessly. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world into shadow, she began to worry. That's when she saw it, an old house, standing alone in the middle of a vast, empty field. The house looked as if it had been abandoned for years, maybe decades. The paint was peeling, the windows dark and lifeless. Yet, despite its ominous appearance, Claire felt an inexplicable pull towards it. Perhaps it was the thought of shelter for the night, or maybe it was something deeper, something beyond her control. She parked her car and approached the house, unaware that her life was about to change forever. Inside, the house was strangely well preserved, as if it had been frozen in time. The furniture was old but undamaged, and the air was thick with the scent of dust and age. A grandfather clock ticked steadily in the hallway, the only sound in the otherwise silent house. Claire called out, but her voice seemed to be swallowed by the walls, leaving only the echo of her own words. As Claire explored the house, she found it filled with strange, old-fashioned objects. Portraits of people with stern expressions, a dusty grand piano, and an odd assortment of trinkets. Everything seemed meticulously placed, as if someone had arranged it all just for her arrival. Yet there was no sign of life, no indication that anyone had been there in years. One room in particular caught her attention, a small parlour where the air was noticeably colder. The walls were lined with mirrors, each one reflecting her image, but in ways that made her uneasy. Some mirrors showed her as she was, while others distorted her features, twisting her reflection into something almost unrecognizable. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, not just by her own reflection, but by something else entirely. Suddenly, in one of the mirrors, she saw it, a shadowy figure standing just behind her. Her heart leapt into her throat, and she spun around, but the room was empty. The figure was gone, if it had ever been there at all. Claire tried to convince herself it was just her imagination, but the feeling of being watched only grew stronger. As the minutes ticked by, the house seemed to change. The walls felt as if they were closing in, the shadows lengthened, and the ticking of the grandfather clock grew louder, more menacing. The once silent house was now filled with creaks and groans, as if it were alive, shifting and breathing around her. Claire knew she had to leave, but the way out was no longer clear. In a panic, Claire rushed to the door, but what should have led to the exit now opened into a different room entirely. The house had changed, reconfiguring itself into a maze of twisting hallways and dead ends. Every door she opened led to a new room, each more unfamiliar and disorienting than the last. The house was trapping her, bending reality to keep her inside. Desperation clawed at Claire as she tried to find her way out. Her breath came in short, panicked gasps, and every step seemed to take her deeper into the house's twisted labyrinth. The walls whispered in voices she couldn't understand, and the air grew colder with each passing moment. It was as if the house was feeding on her fear, growing stronger the more terrified she became. At last, Claire found herself back in the room with the mirrors, but this time, the reflections were different. In each one, she was no longer alone. The shadowy figure was there, standing behind her, its face twisted into a sinister grin. She could feel its presence now, close enough to touch. The realization hit her like a cold wave. She was never meant to leave this house. With trembling hands, Claire reached out to the mirror, as if to prove to herself that it wasn't real. But as her fingers touched the cold glass, her reflection moved on its own, grabbing her hand and pulling her into the mirror with a force that left her breathless. The last thing she saw before the darkness consumed her was her own terrified face, reflected back at her from every angle. And just like that, Claire was gone. The house had claimed another victim, another soul lost to its endless hunger. The house that shouldn't exist had taken her, just as it had taken so many before her, and it would wait patiently for the next unwitting traveller to stumble upon it. Thank you for joining me on this unsettling journey. If this tale left you with a lingering sense of dread, don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more chilling stories. I'll be back tomorrow with another tale of terror that will keep you awake at night. Until then, be wary of the places that shouldn't exist, for they might be waiting for you.